Yeah.
No.
1992, Totally Hair Barbie. I believe this sort of invented crimped hair.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yes,
why
I do.
I was so obsessed with crimped hair. And a lot of the other things that we talk about, Lizzie McGuire, famous crimped hair.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out that episode, we do have a Lizzie McGuire versus That's So Raven episode, if you can see that, which is about, to me, I don't know, like a lot of this fashion, the Barbie fashion, especially from the 90s, is I feel like inspired in a lot of the Disney Channel shows.
Yeah. And the Totally
They
Hair
dress like
Barbie.
Barbies.
The Totally Hair Barbie was the most sold Barbie of all time.
That's a fun
She
fact.
just had the longest hair.
And you could like cut it, you
Did she
could
have
style
bangs?
it.
Did she have like little like Sabrina Carpenter bangs?
Yeah. I also remember one time we were like, I had like a babysitters club with like girls that we didn't babysit. I don't know why. It was just like off that movie. We'd like meet up and call ourselves the babysitters club, and we would like bring dolls and Barbies and whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember someone had like the Totally Hair Barbie, and we were like using real hair tools on it, and it like absolutely melted off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
And we all were like,
Oh my God.
And then in 91, which is like an insane year for them to do this, we had Barbie for president.
Wow.
Which
Unrealistic,
this
now
is
we
kind
know.
of timely. Okay.
Nobody
She
likes
can do
women,
it
so.
all.
President. And I know that this is like, okay, Barbie president, but like, think about that. And like, I'm trying to remember when I was a little girl, and I'm not gonna lie, I remember being like, well, Barbie for president, she can't. You know, like I remember being like, no, Barbie can't be president. That's sort of,
Really?
yes, I remember, because it was so ingrained into the culture to think that like,
that
no, they
men-
can't do that. So
Men were in charge,
I remember seeing them be like, no way. But like, maybe? Like, I'm not joking. I remember kind of being like,
Alyssa.
I need dogs, please.
I'm like, no freaking way. Maybe? I'm like, again, obviously I wasn't buying this one because that was probably too expensive.
Yeah.
But seeing it in the toy store.
Lingerie
and
president,
being like,
though.
yeah, I was
That's
like,
so
lingerie
funny.
Barbie was like in the bins. And I was like, all right, I'll take this one. But I remember being like, no freaking way, man.
No, I remember that. I remember also thinking like, oh, this is crazy. Like,
Yeah, this is crazy.
not
but maybe
me. No
if
way.
men were introduced to like army Barbies, you know what I mean? Like maybe that would have helped. You know, like the guy's
oh,
toy.
G.I. Joe.
I was
or
gonna
Yeah,
whatever.
because
G.I.
like
Jane
we
Barbie?
talk about this all the time in my household. My girlfriend's coming up with like an educational program, and it's like men and boys get introduced to like, you know, they do like engineering basically. They're like building stuff, and then we get Barbies, and it's like there is sort of less academic thing.
God,
Well,
that's so
there was-
interesting. 'cause
there
I
was
just feel like
NBA Barbie.
My household was so different.
You're
and I do.
you're
and
different.
so I'm different.
Yeah.
If you're different like me, get in the comments because
Come on,
there aren't a
differenters.
lot of us, and I need help. I do remember. Again, this was with Barbie's American Girl. It was like a bunch of dolls, but we made a Barbie Congress, and we like lined them up and like
political.
Like the
voted
UN?
on stuff. Like this is what I was
There
doing.
was a
This
Swedish
dark
Barbie.
and stormy night
Dark
over
and
there.
stormy
I'm
night.
like the UN. I'm like, okay, let's chat.
You know what I would do
that's-
aggressively, which kind of makes sense. My dad said I would just watch TV and aggressively brush their hair because I'm like really into hair.
Oh, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have anxiety. So I'd
That's
be like,
great.
Oh my
This,
God.
and
no, but
this
it was
before,
like a soothing thing for
well,
me.
and this was before fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Or what are they called?
Yeah, they are.
Fidget spinners.
And Jade,
Which,
you were
by the way,
able,
if you want to sponsor us.
But anyways, I mean, there was NBA Barbie,
Yeah.
which was cool to see. But again, I think
Going
maybe,
to work Barbie.
maybe
was the
yes.
other one.
I think I remember there was like Safari Barbie. Like she was just going everywhere. And I think for me, a small town
going
kid that
everywhere.
didn't really ever get to travel or like, I just remember being like, maybe one day. And you know what? Now I'm doing that. I went to Serbia last year to shoot a commercial. Okay.
What? What was
We
that
got our
so
very own
far?
Serbia Barbie right here.
But it's like it is cool that you just sort of are like maybe maybe
It does
I can.
expand. It does expand creativity, of
Yes.
course. But like, I think there is still like this traditional flavor to it that doesn't.
Then,
go
but
outside
then
of
they
that
did. They
bubble.
introduced. There was. Do you guys remember Midge?
Of course.
Which is a really kind of a fun name.
Midge was a lesbian.
I think they
Midge.
definitely wanted to be like, we're gonna name her Midge, so that
It's so
nobody
ugly.
else can
Sorry,
really.
But
be
Midge is
better
like
than-
the sister in like Brady Bunch, the
Jan?
younger one. She's like the Jan. I
and
feel
she
like.
married Alan. And then of course Skipper, which
They're
was
both
sort of
gay.
like Skipper was sort of just like a shorter Barbie, but she was her little kid sister. And then we talked about Christy
and Teresa.
and Shawnee and Friends, and then Teresa Rivers, who I really loved Teresa. I remember
I
like
can't remember.
I did.
What does she look like?
She was she was Latina.
Wow.
So
I
she
never
had the,
one of
like,
She
those.
was
she
good
had
at
the brunette.
cooking.
Yeah, she had.
Jade, can you
I'm older
please?
than you guys, and I
Teresa-
was in Brazil, so we only got
She
so
was
many
like,
Barbies
wow,
there.
must
You
have
know?
been nice.
Teresa came out.